Hi, welcome back to another gadget report and let's talk gadgets. And I was supposed to do a video last week. It was promised that I would be back in the first week of August. That wasn't possible due to professional commitments, but here I am for another gadget report and for more gadget reports. This week I will be talking about what I have been doing during July. And this was a nice holiday in Portugal. So last month I was in Portugal, and this month I'm here to tell you all about it. This week I'll be doing an overview of what I found in Portugal, good places, bad places, a little bit of criticisms here and there. Next week I will be talking to a friend of mine that has a very nice business, and we will be talking about how you can contact him and go with him on a tour of Lisbon. And then in the last week, I will be making you a few recommendations of a few places that I've been in Portugal and that I will definitely recommend you to go. So let's talk gadgets. This week we won't talk gadgets, but in September, I will be talking about gadgets and the gadgets I went in. Exciting. So let's talk gadgets and let's talk Portugal. So let's talk Portugal. Let's talk Portugal and gadgets. So as I said, I was in Portugal for 4 weeks. It was a wonderful holiday to visit friends and family. And one of the greatest things of having family scattered around the country is that you end up having the opportunity of visiting more places and seeing a little bit more of the country. And this is what happened. I had very, very little time because obviously I had to restrict my holidays due to my daughter's school terms, so I couldn't stay longer, and that ended up being a way of planning things in a way that, yeah, it could have been a little bit tiring. I have to say it was, because I was always on the move, but it gave me the opportunity of also visiting a lot of places. One of the things I would like to say, and that me and my husband did, and I do strongly recommend, is that you should always hire a car to go outside the big cities. I would not recommend a car at all for example, traveling in Lisbon or Porto, and I'll go there in a minute. It's chaotic, and I would not recommend at all. But if you go outside the big cities, which I obviously recommend you to do, having a hire car, it's a plus, because it gives you that independence. Yes, they have fast trains and they have all these other options that you can use, but the problem with that, it's once you get to the place, you might be restricted on visiting what you can do by walking, or if they have public transport in the area, you won't be able to visit as much if you don't have a hire car. My husband and I did hire a car both when we were in Madeira Island and in continental Portugal, and I think it paid off greatly because it gave us the opportunity to have that independence. First of all, not relying on family or friends to take us to places, because let's face it, even though everyone is always very happy to see you, because it has been a very long time they haven't seen you, they also have their working commitments, and we have to understand that for us it's a holiday, but for them they are in their working times, and they may not be on holidays, and they may not be available, and it's understandable. And if you have a car, you can just go and plan your own visit and plan your own schedule, and do as much as you want. And that's what we did, and I think it paid off. I will be on the last video of the recommendations to say all the the places I recommend for example, even for hire car. However, I will also make some criticisms. So I'll leave that for the last video of the commercial part of it, the places I recommend and do not recommend, etc. Now I'm just doing an overall comment. So having a hire car is definitely a plus, because you can travel, you can plan your day and see what is within reach for each day, and you end up visiting more. You can, and this is what we did. We incorporated the visits to the family and friends on these trips, and then we would see if there was anything else in the vicinity that we could also check out before, for example, going and visiting the family or friends, and we end up exploring more. So definitely I recommend, if you go, and I think this would apply to any other country, just not Portugal, any other country I would say the same, please hire a car and go and explore the country yourself. Not an easy task, I must say. Even though I wasn't doing the driving, my husband was. Not an easy task for someone who's used to drive on the right and suddenly have to drive on the left. It's really, really hard. And first criticism, Portuguese drivers, very aggressive drivers. If I say that in Sydney, the drivers are very aggressive, well, cheer up, Sydney-siders. You are angels compared to the Portuguese. It's really aggressive driving. It's really crazy. And another criticism is that they have very good highways, very good, plenty of them as well. But then once you get out of the highways, the roads are not in the best shape. Most of them have a lot of potholes. The markings may not be on the road. So, for example, and I found for my husband, who is usual or used to drive in Australia, where we have the linings and, for example, in the intersections, but this is something that never happened in Portugal, so I'm not even claiming that they should do it, but this is just to compare what people are used and what they not. Here we even have the markings of the curbs that of what you do if you're going on an intersection to turn left or to turn right. You just have there, and there they don't even have the marking of where you should stop on a stop sign or anything like that. So for people that usually get all these things, it's harder to read the roads. For me, it was a little bit easier. I was like a co-pilot in the trip. It was easier for me because I was born there. I lived there for 30 years. When I did my driver's license, I was there, even though the roads back then were not as bad as I found them now. I always knew that this was the way. So for me, it was easier to read the roads and telling him, well, you have to stop right here, you have to do this, you have to do that. However, I find a massive deterioration to what road markings and quality of roads is concerned. Lisbon and Oporto is chaotic, absolutely chaotic. Potholes everywhere, again, not road markings, weeds. I found Lisbon, I was a little sad about Lisbon, I must say, because if you go to the tourist areas, you know, the picture perfect, Belém Tower, Mosteiro dos Jerónimos, Praça do Comércio, all of those, yes, they clean, they're nice, they're very beautiful for the tourists. If you go to the little neighborhoods within the city, like Penha de França, where my parents live, it was sad. It was sad to see that in, you know, those very traditional cobblestones, you would see weeds, 1 meter weeds coming out of them. The locals are very revolted because they keep on paying their rates and they keep on not having the streets serviced and cleaned. Potholes everywhere. My husband happened to make a comment in English in the council, so in the council's, in the mayor's Twitter account, And apparently he must have heard. I don't think, honestly, I have to say that I don't think it was in any shape or form related to his comment, but it was a coincidence that a few days later they were cleaning the weeds and they were actually fixing, or I wouldn't say fixing, but trying to fix the potholes in the on Penha de França. But there's a lot of things. One of the things that I cannot understand, for example, is the sewage treatment plant in the middle of Lisbon. It doesn't make sense. And then you go and you drive through, and it stinks. It stinks sometimes. It stinks because I think they're not using the proper chemicals to, neutralize the odor. So it's horrible. So that's the sad reality that I found, and it made me sad. Apart from that, obviously, if you go to the tourist areas, it's beautiful. I found that it's crowded. One thing that I honestly I'm very against is the use of tuk-tuks in Lisbon. I don't think they belong there, quite frankly. I don't mind to see them in Thailand. They belong there. They're part of the Thai culture. I don't mind seeing them in Asia, where obviously they are from, and they are a characteristic of that particular culture, and they are a characteristic of the place. If you go to Bangkok, you expect to see a tuk-tuk. If you go to countries in Asia, to Vietnam, to all those countries, you expect to see them because they belong there. They're part of the culture of those countries. However, if you go to Europe, that doesn't happen. That does not belong there. So for me, it was quite aggressive to see something that does not belong there. And quite frankly, I had an occasion that I was walking through the center of Lisbon, right in the city center. And I look at my husband and I said, oh, wow, we just arrived in Bangkok, because it was a huge amount of tuk-tuks all beeping at the same time and trying to overtake each other in the middle of trams and cars and everything else. And it really looked like we were in Thailand. I don't think it was that chaotic if it was in Thailand, I have to say. So I know that maybe I'll get a lot of negative comments of people that love the tuk-tuks, especially the people that work in the tuk-tuks, because for them is a job opportunity. But, and I will be talking about that in my next video, there are other alternatives of similar tours that could be done with a vehicle that would be more appropriate for Lisbon, that would actually do the tours, would be fun as well, but it would not be as aggressive to the eye as a tuk-tuk is, because a tuk-tuk does not belong in Lisbon. So this is my view of Lisbon. I loved it, but I'm sad about a few things. Then I was in Oporto, also a beautiful city. Again, truly chaotic, especially because there's a lot of construction as well. So it makes it a little bit difficult, but of course we understand construction is needed, and sometimes that's what it is. But then the rest I liked. I had the opportunity of walking through Vila Nova de Gaia and see the caves, the Port Wine Caves, and it's beautiful, that area there. Really, really nice. I truly recommend. And then the real trip started. We went through the north, and this is where you can see we were in a small town called Esposende, which is up in the coast. It's a beautiful town. You can walk there, nice clean streets though. No weeds, no tuk-tuks yet. Hope they don't get there. And it was beautiful. It was a really nice place. Then we drove up to a little town or a little village called Godin, which is close to Peso da Régua. And my friends, I'll tell you, I do recommend to do that. We didn't go through the motorway because we really wanted to do the national road, because exactly that, we wanted to experience the view and the country, and that road, oh boy, it has a lot to do. If you just go through the national road, you just go and see, it's vineyards everywhere. Everywhere you go, you see vineyards from one side and the other side, and then you have each one of them identified with the brand that they are for. So you would have Ferreira, Porto Ferreira, you would have all of them. It's not just one, you will see them all. And it's amazing. And then you also, in the middle of that as well, you would have brands of Douro wine, because that region also produces table wine, not just the fortified port wine. They produce table wine as well. So it's beautiful. You have the Douro Valley, you have the river in the middle, and vineyards everywhere. The landscape is breathtaking, I must say. We stayed in Godin. I'll be talking about that on the recommendations video. And it was amazing, a beautiful place. Again, just surrounded by vineyards, just surrounded by beauty. And we could see Peso da Régua right down the balcony, and the river. It was beauty. Then we moved on to Vila Flor, all through the national road, up to the north. And again, the same type of landscape, the same beauty. We could actually experience, we were supposed to do the boat trip through Douro Wine, and they have those tours from Oporto. However, because they were fully booked and we had so little time, we ended up not doing the boat trip. We decided to do the road trip. And honestly, I think we didn't make a bad choice at all. I think we were actually spot on in our choice, because if we went on the boat, yeah, we would see the Douro River, we would experience that. But I think going on the road, you just have the opportunity of stopping here, stopping there for a coffee, just, for a little, rest, and you actually experience a little bit more than if we just went on the boat. So I think we did the right choice, and I think we ended up exploring a little bit more. Then we went to Vila Flor, where part of my husband's family is from. And again, a beautiful village, lots of history. They have a museum there. Throughout the rest of the year, I'll be talking about this, and I have a lot of information from Vila Flor, because we visit the museum and also the Tourist Information Center, and I've got a few leaflets. I'll take some information from there, and I may do a video on Vila Flor. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful area. Again, beautiful views, the beautiful weather, and you can see a lot of things, a lot of history there, a lot of presence, Romans, etc. And honestly, I strongly recommend to visit the town, because it's truly impressive. It's a small town, and the people there are so friendly, and everything, it's so nice. I do recommend you to visit, because the food is, oh, wow, fantastic. As you can see, I'm a little larger, and you just experience the country. After that, we drove down again through the national, and we went through Leiria area, where both me and my husband have family. So we were in Leiria city center. Again, avoid the big cities. It's confusing, it's chaotic. I think the signage is also, but that's overall not the best, especially for foreigners that may be used to different things. But I think Leiria was I found it definitely cleaner than Lisbon. Also, it's a smaller city. It's nice. It's a beautiful city as well. I do recommend to have a look. It has a castle. It has also a lot of history. But again, I made videos about this. From north to south of Portugal, you will find history everywhere because it's centuries and centuries, millennia of history there. So, and we had the opportunity of staying at my dear cousin's apartment in Vieira de Leiria, and she allowed us to stay there in her holiday apartment. We stayed there and we had a beautiful view of the sea, and we managed to explore the area, visit relatives, and explore the area. We went to a place called the caves, Miradive Caves. They're beautiful. I strongly recommend. If you go on a very hot day, be prepared that you are nice and cool inside, and when you come up, you go up a lift and then you go on to the outside, and the temperature difference is just, oh my God, overwhelming, I would say. And then you have to walk, I think it's around 150 meters, something like that, to go back to your starting point. Nothing problematic really. It's just if you go on a very hot day, you will definitely feel the pinch. But I do recommend. It is really nice. Not very expensive, but really nice. We also went to Nazaré. Again, it's a tourist trap. It's full of tourists. But I would still recommend you to have a look because it's a beautiful place. You have all the sea, you have the beach, you have the town itself with its history of fishing and stuff. We visited Batalha, which is also another little town, a little bit more inland from Leiria, known for its monastery, Batalha Monastery, and a beautiful place that I also recommend. It's inland, it's beautiful as well. Then we drove south to Atalaia and Vila Nova da Barquinha, which is a little bit more towards Lisbon. Another beautiful place, beautiful garden with ducks. It's beautiful there, amazing food. And we stayed there with friends, very, very close friends, and then back to Lisbon and back to Australia. I forgot to say, our second week after the first week in Lisbon was in Madeira Island, and you know, Madeira never disappoints. I would say Madeira never disappoints. Everything is nice, clean, organized. Yes, the roads, the national roads, are very, very, very complicated to go through, but we need to understand that is centuries of history in that island, and that's the way they used to do it in the olden days. I think, yeah, there could be some improvement, but I don't think that they could improve much from there. I just think Madeira Island is perfect. Perfect gardens, flowers everywhere. Everywhere you go, you see flowers, you see beautiful gardens. The houses are fantastic. The views are fantastic. I think, as I said, Madeira Island never disappoints. And the people are very friendly. Just don't forget to have your poncho, but if you're driving, be careful. So it's amazing, really, truly amazing. So I strongly recommend you to visit Madeira. Again, hire a car and explore everywhere. I won't mention the places I visit because basically I went all around the island. I visit the usual Funchal, Porto Muniz, Corral das Freiras, from north to south. We hired a car, which gave us the opportunity not only to visit family, and again, we had family scattered all over the island, which also allowed us to plan our trips in a way that we would visit friends and family, and also we would accommodate some exploring of the island as well. It was beautiful. As I said, Madeira does not disappoint. Very clean, very yes, touristic. There's a lot of tourists, but I didn't find that you were overwhelmed with the tourism in Madeira as much as I felt, for example, in Lisbon, that I found it really crowded. Maybe it's the way that it's planned. I really didn't have that almost claustrophobic feeling in Madeira as I did in Lisbon while I was walking through the streets. But maybe it's just me. If you have been to Portugal recently, just give me a comment and let me know your thoughts. Have you had the same experience in regards to tourism as I did, or not? Because this is obviously my my experience. So as I said, Madeira did not disappoint. This was a little overview of what I found in Portugal. I strongly recommend. I will be doing a commercial overview, like what I found in terms of pricing, the recommendations of different places that I've been in at the end of the month. Today was just an overview of things, of places that I visited, what I've seen there, how I found the country. And I think, obviously, I think from last time I been there, continental Portugal really, I would say, deteriorated a little. Madeira, I did not find that at all. I found that it's still beautiful, and I didn't find any negative to say about Madeira, really. Yeah, if anything, the roads, but we know that the roads are like that in Madeira, and it's not a negative. It's part of the character of the island. It's part of it. So yeah, that's not a negative at all. I think that's just how it is. But in continental Portugal, however, I found that in 12 years, I think it was, that I haven't been there, it has been a little deterioration of things, especially to what cities is concerned. I think overcrowded, a lot of things that do not belong there. In the particular case in Lisbon of the tuk-tuks, I don't think they belong there. The cleanliness of the place, Lisbon particularly, I thought really bad. But overall, I would say it's a very enjoyable trip. If you try not to focus yourself in the cities like Lisbon, even Leiria, if you stay away from the big cities and you just go out of the big cities and you start exploring the little towns, the small places, that's where you find the true beauty of Portugal. That's where you find that maybe you can even find things more affordable, and I will be talking about pricing in another video, and you will actually see the true culture of Portugal. I really found that when we drove away from the big centers and we took the car and we explored the Douro Valley, all these towns and villages away from the big cities, we had a much more pleasant experience, and you really experience the country. Yes, we are both Portuguese nationals, so we know how the country is and the culture, etc. But we still thought that when we drove away from, for example, Lisbon or Porto, we were really experiencing Portugal. When you are in the big city, it's just confusion, it's just madness, and it's just overcrowded. This was my experience of it. I still strongly recommend. Of course, you have to visit Lisbon. Of course, you have to visit Oporto. There's a lot to see there. My recommendation, for example, do the Alpha Pendular trip from Lisbon to Oporto. If you arrive, do like we did. We arrived in Lisbon, we stayed in Lisbon for a week, and we used public transport because it's widely available and it can get you around the city quite easily with no thrills at all. And then get the Alpha Pendular away from the city to Oporto, hire a car, and then go and explore. Or if you want, hire a car in Lisbon. At the last day you intend to be in Lisbon, please do not get a car inside of the city because it is confusing. It is hell for locals at best. For a foreigner or for someone that hasn't been there for a while like we did, it is definitely insane. I remember, for example, when we came back to Lisbon and we had to give the car back, and we went to the center, to the car hire center to give them the car back. It was hell to get there because the GPS was sending you through a route, but then there was 2 roundabouts that had the exit closed because of accidents, because of confusion. The police was there and we had to go around. Of course, if you are a local, you know your ways around. If you are not a local, you end up in a maze and you don't know where to go because obviously you don't know. I am a local of Lisbon. I was born in Lisbon, but I had not been there for 12 years. Lisbon has changed a lot. And of course, I was hopeless in that situation. So we really had to rely on that GPS to be able to get to that center, even though there was 2 roundabouts that we were supposed to go in where our exits were closed and we had to go all the way around. Luckily for us, there was a short trip around and we managed to get to the car place on time. Otherwise, we would be paying extra money because we would be late. So also accommodate for that. If you have to go and get your car delivered on a big city like Lisbon or Oporto, please allow plenty of time. So if you get in a predicament like this, if you get traffic, if you have accidents or something on the road, you always make sure that you get there on time and you won't be overcharged. I will be talking about the economical part of the trip on my last video of this month. As I said, this was just a little bit of an insight on what can go wrong on the roads in Portugal. And seriously, big cities, public transport, I'm all for it. I would recommend the Alpha Pendular trip. It's a nice one, especially if you live in a country like Australia who does not have fast trains, unfortunately. Maybe Mr. Albanese is listening to me, the Prime Minister, and we get one day. I don't think so. In the big cities, just know the Alpha Pendular trip, as I said, I would recommend. It's a nice one to do. But then really hire a car, go outside the cities, explore outside. We didn't explore much of Alentejo and Algarve. There was no time, but believe me, there's plenty to do there, plenty to explore, plenty to see. We end up not going there because most of our family were concentrated in Madeira, north and center of the country, and we could not obviously cover the entire country. We wished we could, but wasn't possible. But I do recommend, my first recommendation on this trip is the hire car. I think it was the best thing that we did. I will be talking about hire cars and how to deal with this on my last video of this month. And today was just an overview. So let me know your thoughts about my thoughts. And that's all for today in this first gadget report for the month of August after my really good trip to Portugal. I hope you liked it today. If you have been recently to Portugal, let me know your thoughts. If you are a Portuguese national that also live abroad and have been recently in Portugal, let me know your thoughts about what did you find. Did you have a similar experience in terms of comparing your last visit to the last, this latest visit, or do you have a different opinion? Of course, it all depends on which part of the world you live. People, for example, that live in the UK or in countries in Europe have the opportunity to visit Portugal every year, or sometimes more than once a year, even in the United States. For us here in Australia, if you live in Australia or if you live in Asia or in New Zealand, it would be harder for us to visit because it's very far away, the trips are not cheap, and obviously it's not possible for us to go there as often. So I would like to know your thoughts. I would like to know, even for those in Europe that can visit Portugal more often than, for example, I do from Australia, what are your thoughts? How much do you think Portugal has changed every single time you visit? Do you actually notice that change, or is being subtle for you? Or for me, it has been really a sharp change. I noticed that it was really quite a change, but it has been 12 years. That's why I would like to know if other people have experienced the same, I wouldn't like to say shock, but I think it would be in some aspects, it would be kind of a shock, because since I found some of the things have deteriorated, I do agree that for me it was rather a shock. So I would like to know from you. If you have any suggestions for any videos, just leave me a comment below and suggest. I'll be very happy to accommodate it. And the usual, put a like on the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new gadget report every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for waiting all this time for me to come back. And I see you all next week. See you then. Have a good week. Bye.